Tonight's episode of the 31st Lap Podcast is brought to you by DirtTrackDigest.com. If it's on dirt, it's on Dirt Track Digest.
This is the 31st Lap Podcast, recorded live in the studios of FingerLakes1.com in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. And now, your host, Chris Marquardt.
Good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the 31st Lap, episode number 196. 3 weeks off. Glad to be back in the saddle to hang out and talk with everybody a little bit about what the local racing scene has to offer. Our condolences out to the Hogue family, having lost Dutch Hogue last week. Tyler Seary, with his intentions of dedicating all the racing action to the memory of Dutch Hogue celebrating his birthday in Victory Lane. Finally, Outlaw Speedway able to get their action in as they moved their racing card to a Thursday night last week. We'll get into that a little bit later on. Canandaigua Speedway, they got rained out. I think Fulton got rained out. Brewerton ended up getting theirs in. We're going to be talking with Jimmy Phelps a little bit later on about his hot start between the tracks at Fulton and Brewerton and the World of Outlaws Sprint cars that are coming up on Sunday as Weedsport Speedway ready to open up their doors for the 2016 season. But before we do that, Radio Hill Raceway. I don't know if you've heard of it before. Radio Hill Raceway is the RC track down in Dundee, New York. They race from October until roughly the end of April each year, and they run a division called the MudBoss. And it looks just like a Northeast Dirt Modified. It's run on a Traxxas / two-wheel drive chassis. It's pretty much a box stock car. It's not nearly as expensive as some of the other offerings that are out there in terms of the RC world. Dan Pilot has made a ton of bodies replicating historical cars from way back, including Joe Plasik's car. There's a couple of Bob McCready cars that have been out there, Tim McCready Sweetener's car. In addition to that, he's also made custom one-off bodies that replicate current cars. Paul Guerreri, his paint scheme for this year has been turned into a MudBoss, and he runs down there regular along with Nick Guerreri, Anthony Guerreri, and Frank Burnell runs down there periodically. Bud Burnell, along with his boy Tyler. So it really gained some momentum. Kevin Ridley and Bruce Ridley, Kevin Ridley was a national champion in the RC ranks and has now turned his attention to the MudBoss. So it's kind of neat that track is continuing to explode a little bit. And now, with their season having ended, they're having an off-season special, if you will, on Saturday. Coming up at race time is 2 o'clock. They're going to have MudBosses in town for a 200-lapper. It'll be the second time that the MudBosses run a 200-lap format. Jeremy Cady is going to be down there taking part in that event. Jeremy, man, welcome to the show.
Hey, good to be here.
Jeremy, in the last 200-lapper, he runs quite extensively with Ryan Davenport and Jim from over at Crystal Valley. Tell me a little bit about what your cars are like. I know last time you were down there for the 200-lappers, you had some issues getting qualified, but then you turned around, got hard charger raced from deep in the Alphabet Soup qualifiers into the A main, and you probably had a shot at it until the motor got hot.
Yeah, it was tough. I started off really good. Car was running good. Just had a little slap on the wall enough to break, which put me all the way in the back of qualifying. So I had to run my way up through, I don't even remember. I think I ran 7 heats, like 400 laps to make it up to the A.
If you can believe that.
Right at the beginning of the A main, ended up slapping wheels with another guy and breaking another part. It wasn't meant to be that day.
Still, it was an incredibly impressive run. Ryan Davenport coming away with the win in there. Kevin Ridley, traditionally a front runner in that, winning a lot of the weekly races. Only a couple of the special events put together for the MudBoss. The car itself, the body anyway, was developed primarily by the Salvas family, who were active with Tony Stewart's Custom Works program up in Canada. Gaston Salves, remember him from Dirt Motorsports fame. Eric and I believe it was Steve. Sort of championed the affordable renaissance of RC car racing. We've seen the EDMs run over there, which is the Eastern Dirt Modified, with both the small block and the big block, the Sportsman division, which all vary in terms of how much money you want to spend on the cars. Some of those chassis can cost upwards of $600. The late models, kind of the same thing. The sprint cars, again, the same thing. The MudBoss cars, however, far more affordable. You can get a chassis for $200, and all in, you can be racing for like $350. It seems like that's been the champion of the divisions over there, just because it's so affordable and people can get into it cheap. Jeremy.
Well, it's so easy for people to buy a vehicle that's ready to run and come right to the track. Everybody's super helpful in getting people going. It is very, very hard in any form of RC to find something nearly as affordable to get in and be competitive with. Bashing's one thing, going out and playing in your yard, but man, to have a race car you can set down and go and have fun with people every single week, it doesn't get any cheaper.
The division runs on a spec tire. You have a combination of a standard and an offset, and then a low profile version. The offset spaces the tire out away from the car a little bit. The standard keeps the tire in a little bit closer to the chassis. The low profile doesn't have as much meat on the tire, which gets the car to sit a little bit lower. The low chassis conversions, which you see primarily run on the carpet tracks, not allowed over there, and you have to run a stock ESC and a stock motor. So in terms of the tunability, it's all left up to your options in terms of the weights of the shock oil that you put in and how you do your setups. It really does come down to driving and keeping your momentum up.
Momentum is super important with MudBoss. Experience, the more time you drive, the smoother you get, the less mistakes you make, and you just, faster and faster you go. It's awesome to watch the people progress through. You get to learn about car setup. They're a lot different than the big cars, but some of the same principles apply.
Mm-hmm.
And it's pretty cool to watch people learn a little bit as you go each week, and before you know it, you see those people running faster and faster and getting smoother and setups better. It's a lot of fun.
Radio Hill Raceway is on Shannon Corners Road in Dundee. It's pretty easy to get to. Doors open at 10 o'clock. Racing starts in the afternoon, and there's an RC Derby that's also planned for down there. We'll get into that a little bit more in a few minutes. Jeremy's also active in the summertime with Crystal Valley RC, which is another track that's down in Dundee as well. They are going to be running the MudBoss division. So basically, MudBosses are running year-round. The difference being pretty much only at this point is that homemade bodies are permitted, and you guys are running the rubber tires, not the foams that are common on the indoor clay track at Radio Hill.
That's correct. We're going to be running the same rules at Radio Hill, except for the stock tires that come with the kit.
Mm-hmm.
For the ones that we're going to be running, there's a couple different rubber tires that come with them. We'll be running that actually starting Sunday of this week.
Is it already?
Through June. Yep. Oval's already done, laid out, set up. First race will be Sunday. They'll run all the way through September. Every Sunday at noon there for Oval. And we're going to be running MudBoss stock rules, Radio Hill rules, but with the rubber tires.
Mm-hmm.
SC Mod class, which is the body close to the MudBosses, and if people ran a MudBoss body, it's okay.
Right.
That's open rules.
Oh, so you're allowing the brushless motors.
Yep, that's going to be, you run whatever you want. It's just let the big dog eat.
Oh, man. And it's just those two classes on Sundays?
For right now, I think he'll still be offering, if anybody wants to bring a short course vehicle and just run that as a truck class on the Oval.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll grow from there, depending on what people want to show up with.
I like it. That's Jim Petro's track, correct? He owns that?
That is correct. That's Jim Petro's track, Crystal Valley RC. It's right outside of Dundee, so
easy to get to. Make sure you get over and check that out. But first, before we get into the Crystal Valley season, the MudBosses have one more race to do over at Radio Hill. How is it that you got involved with that particular division? I know Ryan has been there for quite some time, and you guys have had a couple buddies that have come and run cars, borrowed cars. They've got cars that they've come and run. How did it get to be where you were one of the regulars in the MudBoss class itself?
A couple of years ago, we ran trucks with truck bodies, but with the same basic style stuff as MudBoss, and then the Salvas brothers really got it rolling around the country.
Mm-hmm.
Ridley's started coming down, and Ryan ran with them sometimes at the hill, and he's telling me, maybe just check one out. I'm like, man, I love running my sprint car. And I'm like, I don't know. And he said, just try it. And I went down, and he set me up with one for one of the races, and I raced with him, and I've been hooked ever since. It's just, it's so much fun. There's so many, little things that you still have to adjust on them. You got to hit your marks just with any racing. And the field is huge. I mean, we've had nights, I think there were 40-some cars, almost 50 cars. And when you get a field that big, it's just so much fun to try to get to the front.
Right. And it's not an easy task either. You're not going to come out of the blocks and be a front runner. It's just not going to happen.
Oh, not at all. I mean, you run your heat races, you may be the best vehicle there, but you also may be running with the worst vehicle there. So you got to make your way around the track without getting collected. You've always got to be paying attention.
The format for how these races work isn't quite the same as what you're probably accustomed to at Fulton or Brewerton or any of the local dirt tracks that you've seen here. When the events are referenced as heats, there's actually 2 rounds of basically group qualifying. The goal is to turn as many laps as possible, and then from there you're seeded into the main event. So you run one group of heats, everybody's broken down, and then the second group of heats are broken down basically so you're around cars that are about equally as fast as you are, and then from there the mains are set, and it starts with the mains, which is the top 4, 5, 6 fastest cars, on down through, and when there's 40, 50 cars there, it gets down pretty deep into the alphabet. And anybody that wins at that point moves up and continues to move up through, and that's what Jeremy did at the last 200 lapper. He clawed his way all the way up into the A main where Ryan Davenport won. The element with the 200 lapper is that anytime after whenever you feel fit, you have to make a pit stop. Your pit guy picks the car up and brings it over to a table, and beyond that, the driver has to make the changes to the car in terms of swapping out the battery, and then put the bonnet back on, and then the pit guy takes the car and returns it to the track, which was really a new twist to it for a lot of those guys that are running the MudBosses.
Oh, the battery change, it really puts a big twist in it. People don't realize, that sounds pretty easy. Well, the key is you have to change your own battery. So you have to stop your driving, get your car, set it up. You have a tech spot where you have to change your battery. And everybody figures, all right, we got to figure it out. It's going to be 15 seconds. Well, I don't think anybody did it in less than 30.
Right.
So that adds quite a few laps that you're thinking, I got to make these up. And, being able to get to watch the 200 because I broke early, it was very, very interesting. There's so much going on. People have no idea where they're at, who's at more laps. And it rolls back into, just like regular pit stops, especially if you're watching NASCAR. People have different strategies, and you don't know exactly where they're going to end up coming back out. Mm-hmm. So it adds a lot of interest to it.
Right. In terms of the last 200 that was there, Ryan Davenport stayed out for, I think he turned 125 laps, and he had a solid 20-lap lead on the rest of the field before he made his pit stop. At one point on the tech deck, there was 4 or 5 cars over there at one time, and some of the guys tried to pit later. Some of the guys tried to short pit, and it backfired completely. I remember watching Paul Guerreri over there at the pit box, and his hands were shaking. I mean, that's how much pressure he was under. We've seen Paul Guerreri win sportsman championships like crazy, win huge features in his sportsman modified. He's performed very well in big block modifieds. His hands were shaking from the pressure trying to get that body back on, and it was like he was all thumbs trying to hit those 2 little pin marks so he get the body pins on so the body would stay on. And meanwhile, he's trying to make those changes, and you can hear Ryan in the background just churning laps out. And then everybody's just about ready to come back to the track, and that's where Ryan pulled his car off, made a really smooth, deliberate pit stop, and got back out there and was able to hang on. I think he ended up winning the feature by about 4 laps. But that's how much, even running those extra circuits, he still only had about a 4-lap cushion, and a 4-lap cushion is a matter of 12, 15 seconds.
Yeah, and he even still had some trouble. I remember he actually planned on pitting like the same time several other people were already in. And I just walked up behind him and said, just you're running smooth. You still have good battery. Just keep running. The pit bench is full. It's going to cost you. So he just stayed out, and kept running smooth and didn't have any trouble. And he actually had some fumbles in the pits a little bit because it is nerve-wracking. People don't realize, you're just driving an RC car, but, man, you can really get into it. You really get pumped up and your heart be beating. And I watch some people sometimes just standing, their hands are shaking. I mean, it's exciting and it's fun. That's why so many people are, I think, getting into the MudBoss now because, for a couple $100, you can have a ton of fun.
Right. And this event is going to be 50% payback, just a fun way to get everybody together. The track's been closed for about a month. Just a chance to get everybody together before we get into Memorial Day, and Crystal Valley is going to have a chance to advertise a little bit, tell everybody that the MudBosses are going to be in action. So it's going to be $20 to race, and it's 50% payback. $10 stays for the track. The other $10 goes into the pool to pay everybody back a little ways and try and get them compensated for their efforts through the course of the afternoon. And then on top of that, there's going to be the RC Derby, which you've had some good success with that as well, making aluminum bodies out of soffit material, putting them on the Slash chassis, and going and banging around, and you've finished pretty well. You've won some big shows already, and you're fairly new to that.
Yeah, I still think back to the first time I actually talked to you about RC Derby, and you let me borrow a body to try it out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking, man, it sounds like fun, and you're like, you won't do that well, but just go have some fun and learn. And I'm not going to forget that because I ended up winning that.
Mm-hmm. I absolutely did.
It is a ton of fun.
It's so much different than anything that you'd been exposed to before, and maybe you won't do that well, but it's going to be a ton of fun. And I still got that body. It's been pretty sufficiently waffled. There's not a whole lot left of that one. It's been run a lot of times.
It's hard to explain to somebody. I mean, I love running oval, and I run off-road, dirt, but man, once you go do a demo, it is an absolute riot because you go out there and just smash the crap out of it, but you don't care because you're not actually hurting your chassis, you're hurting the outer shell, and it is so much fun.
You say that. You say you're not hurting the chassis. I let Trent Decker and Bailey Decker borrow one of my chassis when we had the show up at the Finger Lakes Mall, and they broke the chassis. They split the chassis.
Who did you say was driving again, though?
That's Bailey and Trent Decker. We're trading back and forth. That's Josh Decker's kids from the crash course on Mondays. I actually
remember seeing that car almost folded in half.
Yeah, it was hurt. It was hurt bad. It was dragging the control arm on the front, but Bailey didn't lift off it. She kept right on plugging away, and when I told Trent, I said, okay, it's sufficiently broke, man. Time to let it go. He was disappointed. So I'm pretty sure that they're pretty sufficiently hooked at this point too.
Yeah, I learned a lot from running up there, running against the Ohio guys. They really have it down. I mean, they knew what they were doing out there. They had a plan, and they stuck to it the whole time.
Mm-hmm. It's tough to beat them. You've had the chance to go down and run in Pennsylvania, and now the 1,000 to Win Bash for Cash event is coming up here on Memorial Day weekend. That's going to be Sunday morning of the 3-day Bash for Cash weekend. 1,000 to win. We've got trophies that are being given out. We've had donations from a bunch of different derby vendors, so I think that's going to be a pretty good time.
It's amazing the backing that's in it. I mean, it truly is amazing.
See wheels get broken off, transmissions burn up, steering servos burn up, control rods and shocks get broken, and those cars just keep on trucking. And they're starting to get closer to having to put limits on what you can do in terms of the body creasing and things like that, just because the cars are becoming harder and harder to bend. And the goal when it started, back in the RC Derby side of things anyway, the goal was to have the cars actually bend, and they're starting to get awful hard.
Yeah, I mean, you get to the point where they get so hard. Are you derbying, or you're not going to damage anything? So I really like where you have enough flex, where if you go slam into somebody as hard as you can, you're going to hurt yourself too. But you need to be tactical about it.
Right. I mean, you need to pick your shots. No different than trying to pick your passes in the oval track stuff. Now, we've talked a lot about the small cars and the scale stuff, but you mess around with engines quite a bit too, and you got a bunch of old trucks.
I love classic vehicles. I've got a couple old '67 Chevy and GMC pickups. I've been working on for years, and I got a short box step side Chevy that I drive all summer long, put it away in the winter. That's my baby. It's been lowered, handles pretty good. I've taken it around Watkins Glen Speedway a couple times.
Really? Now, what motor's in that?
That's got a 355 Chevy motor in it. It's nothing crazy. It's a pretty stock motor. Got a cam. It's got a little bit of head work in it now. I just pulled the motor out, and the shop I work at, we've got enough tooling and stuff where we can do engine work there. We do airplane engines. Sneak my stuff in and work on it when I can.
Right.
They're pretty good about that.
That's cool. And you work with Gary Drum?
Yep.
Yeah.
And he's got to put up with me all day.
Gary's a pretty good dude. He's a Blackhawks fan. He runs the RC stuff as well. I'm hoping to catch up with him Saturday. It's been about 2-3 months since I've seen him. I'm anxious to see him on Saturday down at Radio Hill. You talked about those trucks. You're into those 60s trucks. Those are real popular in terms of the derby stuff when you get out in Minnesota and Utah. We saw an International get torn up in Albert Lee here back 3 weeks ago.
You're going to make me cry.
International, I think it was an International 3/4 ton truck.
Some of those old trucks are just amazing. If you get the big cab stuff, do they do any of the derbies with the full size out there?
Oh yeah. Some of the trucks, the frames themselves, they've been run 35, 40 times. They just keep putting new bodies on.
It's absolutely amazing.
Now, this is a racing show. We're getting a little bit sidetracked with the derby talk, but we got to make sure that we have you on again sometime to talk a little bit about what the truck climate's like out in Minnesota on Mondays.
Yeah, I've actually watched some of the truck derby stuff from out there, and wow, some of those guys are nuts. Yeah, they're out of their mind.
They're definitely out of their mind. Did you spend any time at any of the local tracks when you were growing up? I mean, living down in the Southern Tier area where you're from, you've got a pretty good hotbed right there with Thunder Mountain, and you've got Black Rock Speedway, now Outlaw Speedway in Dundee.
Yep. I spent a lot of time, Outlaw Speedway growing up and in Canandaigua, and I used to travel. My dad and I would hit Weedsport, and I used to go to Outlaw, every week. And I've been trying this year. Keeps getting rained out. I did hit their Thursday show.
Yeah, how was it?
Show. Really looking forward to tomorrow night's show. Looks like good weather.
Finally, right?
Finally. Should be pretty sunny. Might even hit 70 degrees. I know they'll be working on the track all day, getting their prepped and moisture in it. And I'm looking forward to watching the sprint cars.
Yep.
It's been a long time.
Tyler Series done an excellent job getting that track together. I mean, he's done a lot of good improvements over there.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the place is looking fantastic. I can tell he did a lot of track work there Thursday, for limited amount of time that he had to decide to do a Thursday race and get everything together. It was pretty impressive, and there's not a lot of dragging through the show. He really got the show moving. Everybody didn't have any problems, hit the scales. People were on the track, next group out. I was impressed. It's been quite a while since it's been run that way.
Yeah, he's been pretty particular and pretty efficient on how he wants that program to run, and he was finally given the chance where he could execute it after 3 straight rainouts over there. Sprint cars are back. You been a big sprint car fan?
Always.
Yeah.
It'll be nice to see them on a smooth track. Back at Black Rock, it's been years since they've had a good track to run, and I think they're really going to put on a good show.
Mm-hmm.
Big blocks, small blocks, grit series. That'll be a good time.
They've also got the World of Outlaws Sprint cars in town at Weedsport Speedway for their opener on Sunday. You going to make the trip over?
That is my 23rd wedding anniversary. I think I would get in a lot of trouble for that.
You could always bring your wife with you.
No, she's got other plans for us. I won't be making that one. I wish I could.
We're going to be catching up with Jimmy Phelps here in just a little bit. Before we let you go, Jeremy, is there anybody that you wanted to make mention of? I mean, we've hit on a lot of different topics. I know you've talked about growing up and working on the motors and stuff. You referenced your dad and going to Black Rock. It sounds like he's a guy that's been pretty important to you through all your different endeavors.
Yeah, my dad's taught me everything I know about old cars and racing and motors, and I can't take him enough. He's helped me so much through that. And Ryan Davenport with the RC side, and we always have so much fun. And meeting you and having you get me into the Derby stuff, my wife's probably going to be mad at you because I really loving the Derby stuff now too. Right.
Well, the Derby stuff it's a hook. I mean, there's nothing there's nothing you can do there. Once you're in, and you're not going to be able to shake it. And I've had a hard time getting my head around some of the people that we've had the opportunity to meet through some of the RC stuff. Avenues that I didn't expect it to take, and getting to know Kevin Ridley and Bruce Ridley a little bit more. You guys down there, getting to know Jim and finding out more about Crystal Valley. We're going to have a 200 lapper here coming up in July at Crystal Valley here this summer. I'm looking forward to that. And on the rubber tires, I think that's going to be a lot of fun to watch as that develops, and the continuing to just make the world smaller. You know what I mean, by bringing different people from different walks of life into common experiences has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's amazing the people you meet and the connections you make, and a lot of it's for life. I have people down in Pennsylvania that I've gone down RC racing with, and I mean, it's almost like, hey, we're going to have a reunion. Let's get together this month. I mean, you end up so close with such a vast group of different people. It's a blessing.
Right. At Radio Hill, you've had the chance to race against guys from Indiana, Iowa, Ohio, Pennsylvania, obviously New York, all over New York, and some of the southern states now with some of the other divisions of RC racing. You've raced in Pennsylvania. You've raced in the middle of New York against guys from Ohio and Virginia at the same time. The reach of RC racing has been significant, and with the development of the MudBoss, it really seems like it has had a renaissance, so to say, across the country, with that division being affordable, popular, and it's a car that looks like something that you can relate to.
It's bringing so many new people in, and I don't know, like, figure what, $400 gives you your charger, your radio, your tires, your battery, your vehicle ready to go, except for your printed side, and that's what's so cool about it. You can completely customize it. How can you go wrong?
Exactly. And it's as much as you want to spend. If the MudBoss gets you hooked, you turn around, you want to try the EDMs. There's sportsman divisions there. There's sportsman late models. There's street stocks. There's sprint cars. And I tell you, the sprint cars move some pretty serious air. When they go around Dundee, there's a big dent in the wall that somebody autographed that showed how high a sprint car can actually flip. And when they wreck, pieces fly off.
We've run mod sprints there with open motor, and sometimes that's just way too much.
Well, they do a great job keeping that track ready to go. Bill Brewer, he does an awesome job down there at Radio Hill. Races from October to April, doing a couple special events here this summer. Crystal Valley opening up officially on Sunday. They're going to be racing the MudBosses and the short course trucks beginning at noon. Track's just outside of Dundee. Jeremy, man, it's a ton of fun talking with you always. Glad you came on the show to talk a little bit about your experiences and your role in the racing world, both as a fan and as a competitor in the RC division.
It was great talking with you on the show. Love watching.
All right, man. I appreciate it. Glad to have you tuned in, and I'll be seeing you Saturday, just a couple days away.
All right. See you then.
Thanks, man. We'll catch up with you soon.
All right. Bye.
There goes Jeremy Cady hanging out to talk a little bit about the RC racing coming up at Radio Hill, Shannon Corners Road in Dundee. 200 lapper on deck for the MudBosses, and then an RC Derby also planned. Expecting a phone call any minute from Jimmy Phelps. The phone lines are open for Jimmy whenever he is ready. Take you through some of the action that we saw over the last weekend Anyway, we'll hit on some of this stuff. It was Tyler Seary, as we mentioned earlier, that picked up a win over at Outlaw Speedway. Unfortunately, most of the tracks rained out. 31st lap, this is Chris. Hey, Jimmy, can I put you in? Thanks. Timing of that working out perfect. Just getting to Fulton and Brewerton. Brewerton Speedway being won by the gentleman joining us on the line right now, a very busy Jimmy Phelps. First question that's probably the most important before we get into the racing stuff. How was the concert tonight?
Actually good. Just ended, like literally just now, so timing was good.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you calling in and taking a little bit of time out from your family. We won't keep you too long, but I know you started out with a pretty hot shoe, pretty good piece underneath you for 2016 with a win at Fulton and now a win in the opener at Brewerton.
Yeah, I really do. I got a great car. Hopefully we can ride it for a while. And, to be honest with you, it's been a while since I felt like, I felt as strong as we do right now. So I'm just enjoying it right now and working hard and try to keep it rolling.
Shake up this offseason over there with the HBR team. You've got Peter Britton in the stable now. You've got Max McLaughlin, who ran to 5th place over at Brewerton, and you've got Mr. Blaney joining you guys as well. So what has changed? Is it just that sometimes the cards fall in your favor and sometimes they don't? Have you put more emphasis on one thing or another? Is there a key to the success?
Well, I think probably the biggest thing is we just kind of bared down and, made some changes and actually worked to try to institute. I mean, probably the biggest thing we did was we had a couple different car designs last year and kind of had some strengths and weaknesses in both, and we tried to kind of merge them together and, make what we thought would be the best of both worlds. And then probably the other big thing is we switched our shock package up to the JRI shock program this year, and those guys were really all in with us all winter, just doing some development, and we got to test a few times, and we did some stuff that we normally wouldn't do. We didn't go to Florida, we didn't do any preseason stuff, but we tried to get on the track here and there, throughout the winter. Down south we went a couple times, and then obviously we got some lucky weather in March where we could get on Weedsport a few times. So I think we were able to do some testing that helped, and it's still a matter of you can play around, test all winter. You don't know what you got until you get out there and race with everybody. But the last few weeks we've been fortunate to have pretty good stuff, so we'll just see where it goes.
You did some testing, when you alluded to some testing down south, you went a little bit off the beaten trail, if I remember right.
Yeah, we ended up down Carolina Speedway in just outside of Mooresville, and spent a couple days down there, and Dave Blaney got involved with us, and we went over with him and the guys from JRI and Troyer, and we did some stuff. And at the time it was hard to say. You're on one track, it's a little different than what we're typically accustomed to up here, but so we felt good with what we had down there, but you just didn't know how it was going to apply up here. So once we got on Weedsport and got a few laps, and then just went to the open practice and played with some stuff at Brewerton, and obviously Fulton, we kind of started right out green with the Super Dirt Series race, and honestly thought we had a pretty decent shot at it. Things fell our way at the end, but nonetheless had a pretty good car. So, so far so good. Hopefully it keeps rolling.
You're only as good as your last time out, and I know that's something that racers hang on to because you don't want to get complacent. But when you go to Carolina Speedway and your times are good, you feel good about the car, so you're cautiously optimistic. You come back to Weedsport, you turn some laps there, you do the test and tune, and it holds up pretty well at Brewerton. Just in the practice settings, I know it's not race conditions, but at the same time, how important is that for the team to have good success in Carolina, to back that up with good success at the home tracks in New York, and then to turn around and right out of the blocks pick up the Super Dirt Series win, the Super Dirt Series run at Fulton, and then the win in their opener. All of that combined it's really got to play in really well in terms of building the team's confidence, and that's got to be a huge boon just to have that under your hat as you start your weekly grind.
Yeah, no question. No question. We, because like I said, it's there was a lot of new irons in the fire. Let's put it that way, and things kind of seemed to gel together pretty quickly, and that was good because it could have went the other way. We could be
we could be chasing shocks, we could be chasing cars and setups, and, we still may be.
Sure.
Just for right now, we feel really, really confident with what we have, so that's a good feeling.
How's Max coming along?
He's gaining. I'll tell you, every time he goes on the racetrack, he improves, and, he listens, and he's learning. And I think it's really, really a product of just getting up here in the Northeast and getting on some different racetracks and, running 35 laps or 100 laps or, just getting races under his belt. That's really what he needs right now. But noticeably improving every time he goes out, and, he's got a real good outlook on things, and his dad's a great guy, and he's doing an awesome job, and he's learning as well, and they're going to get there sooner than later.
You mentioned that he listens. Is that the best quality to have as a young race driver, or is there another quality that you look for as saying, look, if he's got this, then he's already on the right path to be successful?
Yeah, it's hard to say. You need a lot of things. But it's funny with dirt modified racing. It just seems like it's a lot of people have said it over the years. It just seems like with dirt modified racing, you just kind of get better as you gain knowledge and experience, and it's not always it doesn't always run true with how on the edge you are and how crazy you are and so on and so forth. So and even with myself, I mean, we're still racing and getting beat by guys that got 20 years on us, and we've been doing it a while. So when those guys talk, we listen. That's what you got to do. So yeah, I'd say it's a pretty big quality, but he's got a real good. He's just got a real good handle on a lot of it. It's not just that. I mean, he understands the business. He's definitely a driver that's he's not afraid to get up on the wheel, but yet knock on wood, he's been pretty decent on equipment. So I think. All in all, he just needs laps, and this summer's going to give that to him, and you're going to see some improvement, along the way for sure.
How's your confidence this year?
It's good. It's really good. I'm fortunately things have been really going well, so that's made it a little easier on us through this early stages of getting Weedsport opened up, and I got a ton of confidence in my guys, Kurt and Rich and Tyler and all the guys, Mike, Peter. Them guys are real hands-on with everything. So, I mean, we just got an awesome group of guys in the shop. So it's really made my life easy as far as being able to focus on the track, focus on the setup stuff, and thank God for them and that things are going well. So that for right now, until we get we'll get through Weedsport's opener, and obviously once things get into a rhythm, then obviously I can spend a little more time in the shop, and which I enjoy. So, but yeah, my confidence is good. I feel really good. I mean, we're coming off a back-to-back deal, and it's obviously it's gonna be a big test once we get started into the handicap, and we can, we got to come from 18th, but, we've been doing this a long time, and I just, like I said, I feel really good about what I got right now underneath me, so that's a good deal.
You alluded to Weedsport and getting ready for the opener, World of Outlaws Sprint cars coming in. Sounds like everything should be aligning pretty well for an awesome show over there Sunday at Weedsport. Yeah,
I'll tell you, I can't wait. It's, there's normally like all this stuff we got to get done and all this, and it's like I think just everybody, we got a good start on it with the spring being real decent weather-wise, and everybody's just worked their tails off around there. I mean, there's just so many great people involved in that thing, and we're, I'd say, probably ready to go, and for the most part, the anticipation of it's been, just outstanding with all kinds of ticket sales from all over the place. I mean, we got tickets sold from, I think, California, and a couple from Colorado, and I mean, really amazing, the variety of different states that people are, bought pre-sale tickets from. I'm hoping we get a bunch of the PA contingent up here, and they give them boys a little bit of a run. And obviously we got Stuart Friesen and some other local 360 guys that are going to come and got a shot. Weedsports usually gets dry slick, and it's a little bit different configuration, so it's going to be exciting. Obviously there's a lot of new stuff going on with the lights and the Jumbotron. The track is in the best shape it's been since we've been there in 3 years. The clay's really bedded in nice with the winter, and I don't know, I just can't wait. It's going to be great.
What's it take to put together a World of Outlaws event? I mean, you've got the huge trailers. They're coming in from all over creation. You've got the World of Outlaws, that you've got different sponsor obligations with what they bring to the table. How hard is it to coordinate all that so that there's enough space for them to pit, for your regular guys to come in and pit? You've got the sportsman cars that are going to be in action with you. How tough is it to coordinate a World of Outlaws event?
Well, it's believe it or not, I mean, they do a great job. World Racing Group does a great job at tying all them little details in on their end anyway. We just need to provide a venue for them to be able to accommodate them space-wise. And, since we moved the pit area, really, it freed us up a ton of room. The sportsman guys kind of got their side of things, and then all the sprints are up top, and the hardest part's getting all the vendor trailers in, and the individual drivers got merchandise, and they're looking for somewhere to put it. We have I know Craftsman's bringing a big interactive display in, and that takes up half an acre. And then you got the World Outlaws got a huge tractor trailer that they bring in. So actually getting all them jammed in behind the grandstands is actually harder than trying to get the racers in, for sure.
So I'm almost hesitant to ask this question, but I'm going to ask you anyway. After you've done this for 3 years, does it almost make you more anxious, or I don't think nervous is a fair way to say it, almost make you more anxious to get the race in when everything is going? It sounds like everything's been going so smooth. Does it actually have a counter effect and make you more anxious?
Well, I don't know if it has anything to do with going smooth or not. I mean, the World Outlaw deal is a big investment. It's a big undertaking, just because so much has to go right to make sure that you don't end up upside down, and there's going to be a ton of people there, hopefully, and we want to have them leaving, wanting to come back as soon as possible. So I mean, there's a lot of pressure on that front to just do a perfect job with the event. So I don't know. I think it would be I think it would be a lie to say that we're not, nervous, and I don't know if that would ever go away, to be honest.
Right. So no matter how prepared you are, it always gives you the opportunity to focus even deeper down the list on different T's that need to be crossed and I's that need to be dotted.
No doubt.
In terms of what we're going to see this weekend, it's a jam-packed card. The sportsman cars are going to be out there. Gates for the racers opening at 2 o'clock, grandstands at 4, practice following at 6, qualifying planned for 20 to 7, first action on the track at 7 o'clock. The Empire State Challenge event at Weedsport Speedway, part of the Craftsman World of Outlaws Sprint Car Tour. It is the World of Outlaws Sprint Car's first visit of 2016. Adult admission $30, reserved seating for 35. Pit access is $40. At this point, this is going to be the first World of Outlaws race in New York for those guys. The last time they tried to run at Weedsport, they got rained out, correct?
Yeah, last fall we had them on the card, and obviously that weekend just went horribly bad weather-wise, and they didn't even end up making it into town. So yep, this is I believe the one and only appearance in New York State this year, barring whatever happens with Dirt Week. So
sure,
hopefully that adds to the excitement.
If you want to see it, the place to see it is at Weedsport. And like you said, the tricky configuration, and you've also got the equalizing effect of the dry slick clay. So you could see one of the locals jump in and surprise those guys over there at Weedsport. Jimmy, I know you had the concert and stuff tonight. I don't want to keep you. Appreciate you coming on the show. Is there anybody that you wanted to make mention of, or anything else that you wanted to hit?
No, listen, I appreciate you having me. I look forward to seeing everybody on Sunday, and I can't thank everybody. I can't thank everybody at HBR, everybody at Weedsport Speedway, the whole staff, and them guys are just, like I said, they've been killing themselves this spring, getting ready for all this stuff, and got to thank my family for putting up with a ton of late hours, and just all I can say is just just keep it rolling, and hopefully they'll have a good year.
Well, we're sure looking forward to. Oh, you guys were featured on the Syracuse News.
Yes, we were. Yeah, we had a little bit of a ribbon-cutting open house yesterday with the Cuyahoga County Chamber of Commerce, and that we had a great time. It went really well. We had a lot of people there that, I mean, probably have driven by there 500,000 times and never even knew the place was there, and I think it opened some eyes, and it was a really neat deal.
I saw some photos that Jeremy Jay Fish had posted up about that ribbon cutting ceremony on your social media page. You can find that on Facebook. It was pretty neat to see those. It's awesome what you guys have done with that track and the way that this entire rebirth of Weedsport Speedway. You've really done a good job of bringing that track back to prominence, and big events like these are only going to continue to build that momentum.
Yeah, let's hope so. I appreciate that.
You have a good weekend. Wish you the best. Again, thanks for coming on tonight.
All right, thanks, guys.
We'll see you later.
Yep, bye.
There goes Jimmy Phelps hanging out with us to talk a little bit about Weedsport Speedway and his quick and rapid and successful start so far to 2016. We hit on most everything that we wanted to hit on already. We hit on Weedsport. Spencer Speedway. I forgot about that one. Spencer Speedway, they had their test and tune session. Darrell Lewis clocking the fastest RC modified time, 91 miles an hour for him. Mike Lady, top of the list for the Sunoco modifieds at 88.669 miles per hour. They open up Friday. It's their 62nd annual launch. NASCAR sanctioned Sunoco modified Super 6's 4 cylinders. Race time is 7:30. SpencerSpeedway.org for additional info there. Canandaigua Speedway, as we said, had rained out. They're back to regular action this week with an adult demolition derby held as part of that. Canandaigua Motorsports Park under the CanandaiguaMotorsportsPark.com under the rules tab. Got all the information from the demolition derby if you want to throw a car together in the next 2 days. General admission $12. Fulton Speedway, regular show planned for Saturday after they rained out last weekend. The big boy buses will be in action as well. Visit Fulton Speedway for more. Utica Rome rained out Sunday. The King of Dirt Sportsman and Pro Stock Series has been moved to June the 5th, this Sunday, which is the 22nd. Dirt Modifieds are back on hand. Race of Champions Tour in town for the Victoria 200. It's a 55-lap feature paying $5,500 to win, and the Gnome Cup being awarded to the Go Nuclear Late Model Series. Winner of that support event. You can jump on uticromespeedway.com for more information on that. Again, our condolences out to the Hogue family. Dutch Hogue passing away, 89 years old, had a short illness, and legendary driver. Read his obituary, and I didn't even realize this. He's the only driver to win the Langhorne National Open 5 times. He's the only driver ever to win both on the dirt and the paved surface in 56, 60, 63, and on the pavement, 67 and 68. Fun time tonight. Appreciate all the folks making an effort to join us here tonight, Jeremy Cady and Jimmy Phelps. Anticipating right now that we will be back here next week. Should be done taking weeks off as we trek towards episode number 200. Hopefully we can get some of the other fellas in the studio to hang out with us for that. But I think that is going to do it for episode number 196. We appreciate all the viewers at home coming back to the 31st lap here on FingerLakes1.tv, and we will see you again next week.